You know, for years, Jeff Gianola has been introducing us to his Wednesdays children, kids looking for adoptive homes.
Yeah, Jeff is often asked for updates on the children that he has featured, and he has a very special reunion story that you're going to share with us today, Jeff.
Well, it all started with this. For 30 years, I featured children on the news looking for adoptive homes. There have been hundreds of children over the years, but I want to share with you a letter I got from one of them, a young man named Troy Bagnell. Here's what that letter said briefly, in a few words. Dear Mr. Gianola, you probably don't remember me, but I was featured on your Wednesday's Child program back in 1988. It was after seeing that episode that my adopted mother's best friend saw it and told my adoptive parents about me. I was adopted. We never know whose lives we can have an enormous impact on. I've never had the chance to thank you in person. Thank you, sir, Troy Bagnell. And that's how this reunion story begins. It was a trip I was looking forward to. I was on my way to meet someone I hadn't seen in 26 years. You're Troy? You're a lot bigger than I remember. How you doing, man? Good to see you. Good to see you. Yeah. Troy welcomed me into his home, and we sat down to watch the Wednesday's Child story I had featured him on back in 1988. When I look at this, I remember, when I see your face as a little boy, it floods back memories that I remember filming this at the time and hoping that things will just work out. You were how old when we did this?
7 and a half.
7.5. By 7.5, how many foster homes had you been in at that point?
I was in my 12th.
Your 12th foster home. When you see yourself as a little boy again, like that, where was your mind then as a little boy? In a lot of ways, you seemed, at the time, a pretty sad little boy, I remember.
Yeah, it was. I wasn't happy with my situation. I was looking for a family. I wanted to get on with my life.
How many schools had you been in from moving around so much in foster care?
5, 6 separate schools that I can remember.
It was hard to make friends.
It was very hard. I didn't make too many friends for that very reason.
After this aired back in 1988, what happened then? Who saw this and how did you end up to be adopted?
So a friend of my adopted mom saw this on Wednesday's Child that same week, or the week that it aired, and she notified my mom and said, hey, they were looking for a family or a kid to adopt. And so she inquired about it, we watched it, and the next week or so after that, my brothers aired. And after that, she found out that I had a brother, so she's able to take both of them. Yes, you heard right. I also featured Troy's brother Jason a week later. The same family adopted both of them. Dave and Betty Bagnell opened their hearts and home to the boys. And wait until you hear what Troy has done with his life. He joined the military at 17, completed a biology degree at Oregon State. Currently, he's pursuing a master's degree in health management. As a member of the Oregon National Guard, Troy has served 2 tours of duty in Iraq, and a few days ago, he left for deployment in Afghanistan. Probably thousands of pictures of like Iraq and all that stuff.
But his biggest accomplishment? Marrying his wife, Melissa, and becoming stepfather to 4 children. I asked Melissa what she thinks of when she looks back at my Wednesday's Child segment on Troy 26 years ago.
I see a sad, sweet little boy that wants a family. It's a little heartbreaking, but it has a good ending.
So there was a caseworker back then who had enough sense to sort of put your life history, since your life was so shattered, kind of putting your life history, knowing that at a future date you'd look back on this and say, wow, that's my life. And among Troy's most treasured pictures in his life book, a picture of him as a little boy standing by the judge who signed his adoption papers. Before I left, I took a walk around the neighborhood with Troy. What we talked about between us is a private conversation. But I will say this, in my 32 years as a television reporter and anchor, there have been a lot of stories I've covered and remembered. I've received plaques and awards for some of them. but I think this is the one I will remember most and always cherish. I want to let everyone know Troy is going to be shipping out to Afghanistan. He's at Fort Hood down in Texas, and he's watching us right now, streaming on our website, KOIN.com. So Troy, hi from all of us. And you're always going to be my Wednesdays kid, no matter how big you get.
You can tell by looking in his eyes how much you mean to him.
Yeah. Thanks, Dan.
Yeah, that was
It means a lot
good
to me.
stuff. Yeah,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Jeff.
Thanks.